The massive doors of the Galactic Council chamber slid open with a deep rumble. Ambassador Hyun-woo walked in slowly, his black uniform standing out against the colorful alien delegates. He carried a small device in his hand, humanity's final message to the galaxy. The chamber was huge, filled with beings from 47 different worlds. Some looked like giant insects, others were made of living crystal, and a few seemed to be made of pure energy. They all stared at the human with their various eyes, sensors, and detection organs. Council Prime Veltar sat on the highest platform. His blue skin glowed softly as he spoke through the universal translator. "Human ambassador, you come before us again. Your species has ignored our warnings for the last time." Hyun-woo pressed a button on his device. A hologram appeared in the center of the room. It showed Captain So-young, a woman with short black hair and calm dark eyes. Even as a projection, she seemed completely unafraid. "Members of the Galactic Council," So-young's voice filled the chamber. "This is our final diplomatic message. 3 months ago, we asked you to stop taking over star systems that we protect. We asked nicely. We offered trade deals. We even offered to share some of our technology." The alien delegates made various sounds, clicks, whistles, and electronic beeps that meant they were not impressed. So-young continued speaking. "But you have chosen to ignore our requests. You have decided that humans are too small, too weak, too young to matter. You think our 12 star systems mean nothing compared to your thousands." A delegate that looked like a giant spider banged one of its legs on the floor. "Exactly right, little human. Your species barely left your home planet 200 years ago. We have ruled space for millions of years." The hologram of So-young smiled, but it was not a happy smile. "Today the Council will vote on something you call the Final Solution Protocol. You plan to give us 72 hours to leave all our colonies and become your servants, or you will destroy every human in the galaxy." Murmurs spread through the chamber. How did the humans know about their secret vote? "We know about your plan because we have been watching you for a very long time," So-young said as if she could hear their thoughts. "Admiral Taemin has been studying your military tactics. Dr. Jiho has been learning everything about your biology and technology, and I have been trying to find a peaceful solution." Admiral Taemin appeared next to So-young in the hologram. He was a tall man with gray hair and scars on his face from old battles. He looked at the council members with the calm eyes of someone who had seen many wars. "We tried to be good neighbors," Taemin said. "We helped rescue your people when the Void Plague hit the Outer Rim. We shared our medical knowledge when the crystal sickness spread through Nexari space. We even helped defend your trade routes from pirates." Dr. Jiho joined the hologram. He was younger than the others, with thick glasses and hands stained from working in laboratories. "I have spent 5 years studying every species in this council. I know what foods you eat, what diseases affect you, how your ships work, and what you are afraid of. I hope this knowledge would help us become friends." The council delegates were getting angry now. How dare these young humans speak to them this way? Council Prime Veltar stood up. His voice boomed through the chamber. "You forget your place, humans. We have ships that can crack planets. We have weapons that can burn entire solar systems. What could your tiny species possibly do to threaten us?" So-young's image stepped forward. "We are not threatening you. We are warning you. There is a difference." She paused and looked directly at each section of the council. "If you vote for your Final Solution Protocol, you will discover what that difference means." "And what exactly will you do?" asked a delegate made of living metal. "Hide behind your little planets? Send your few hundred ships against our thousands?" Taemin smiled for the first time. It was not a nice smile. "We will do what humans do best. We will adapt." Jiho pulled out a data tablet and began reading. "In the past 5 years, while I was studying all of you, my colleagues were working on projects you never bothered to learn about. Project Exodus is now complete and ready for implementation." "What is Project Exodus?" demanded Veltar. "That," said So-young, "is something you should have asked before you decided to exterminate us." The hologram began to fade, but before it disappeared completely, So-young spoke one last time. "You have made your choice. The vote will happen in 1 hour. You will give us 72 hours to surrender or die. But understand this. By the time you press that button, it will already be too late." The chamber fell silent as the hologram vanished. Hyun-woo put his device back in his pocket. He looked around at all the alien faces staring at him. Then he smiled the same calm smile that So-young had worn. "The captain wanted me to deliver one more message," he said. She said to tell you that humans always keep their promises. All of them. With that, Hyunwoo turned and walked out of the chamber. His footsteps echoed in the silence. Council Prime Veltar called for an immediate vote. The result was exactly what everyone expected. 43 species voted yes. Only 4 voted no. The final solution protocol was approved. The message was sent to all human colonies immediately. You have 72 standard hours to evacuate your territories and report for processing. Failure to comply will result in the complete destruction of your species. But something strange happened after the vote. The few council members who had voted against the protocol looked worried. One of them, an old turtle-like being named Kethmos, approached Veltar after the session. I have lived for 800 years, Kethmos said slowly. I have seen many young species threatened by the council. They always react with fear, anger, or desperate attempts to negotiate. But these humans, they were too calm, too prepared. Veltar dismissed the concern with a wave of his hand. They are just trying to look brave before they die. In 72 hours, the human problem will be solved forever. But as the great fleets began moving toward human space, some of the older, wiser council members began to wonder if they had just made the biggest mistake in galactic history. The button had been pressed. The countdown had begun. But somewhere in human space, Project Exodus was already starting, and the galaxy was about to learn what happened when you cornered the most adaptable species it had ever seen. Admiral Crixtal had led military campaigns for over 2 centuries. He had conquered 17 different species and destroyed countless rebel groups. But as his massive fleet approached the Sol system, he felt something he had never experienced before: unease. Sir, called his communications officer, a being with 4 arms and no mouth who spoke through electronic pulses. We are receiving no signals from Earth or any human colonies. Crixtal's 6 eyes focused on the main screen. Earth hung before them like a blue and green jewel, exactly as it had always appeared in their intelligence reports. But something was wrong. The massive orbital defense stations that should have been firing at them were completely dark. Perhaps they are trying to hide, suggested his tactical officer. Some species attempt to play dead when they know they cannot win. But Crixtal had studied human military history. These were not a species that played dead. These were the beings who had fought wars against each other for thousands of years before reaching space. They knew how to fight, and they never gave up easily. Take us closer to Luna Base, he ordered. Prepare boarding parties. Luna Base was humanity's largest military installation. Intelligence reports said it housed over 50,000 soldiers, and the most advanced weapons humans had ever built. As the fleet approached, Crixtal expected to see frantic activity, ships launching, weapons charging. Instead, he found nothing. The base was intact but completely empty. Power systems were shut down. Docking bays stood open with no ships inside. Even the automated defense systems were offline. Sir, we have scanned the entire base, reported his science officer. No life signs anywhere, but there are no signs of battle either. No bodies, no damage, nothing. Commander Dayun's exploration ship, the Pioneer's Edge, was found drifting near the asteroid belt. Her final message, recorded just 3 days ago, showed her sitting calmly in her captain's chair, reporting routine mining operations in the outer system. The message ended with her saying, "This concludes our final standard report. Pioneer's Edge out." The ship was found exactly where her report said it would be, but Da-Un and her entire crew of 200 were gone. Their personal belongings were still in their quarters. Hot meals sat half-eaten in the cafeteria, but every single person had vanished without a trace. Captain Baum of the science vessel Deep Thinker was assigned to investigate Earth itself. What he found there was even more disturbing than the empty space stations. New York, London, Tokyo, Lagos, all the great human cities were intact and functioning. Streetlights worked. Traffic systems operated normally. Even the parks were being maintained by automated systems. But there was not a single human anywhere on the entire planet. It is as if they all decided to leave at exactly the same moment, Baum reported to Admiral Crixtal. But there are no signs of panic, no abandoned belongings scattered in the streets. Everything is neat and organized. The human colonies on Mars told the same story. The farming domes were running perfectly, producing food for no one. The research stations were still conducting experiments, but all the scientists were gone. Robot workers continued their tasks as if nothing had happened. Engineer Minho's final log entry was found in the main computer of Mars Central Command. The entry was dated just 6 hours before the Council fleet arrived in Sol system. Project Exodus Phase 7 complete, Minho had written. All primary systems are functioning within acceptable parameters. Dimensional anchor points have been established and verified. Energy reserves at maximum capacity. We are ready for final implementation on my mark. The log ended there, but attached to it were terabytes of data protected by quantum encryption that would take even the Council's best computers centuries to break. What is Project Exodus? Admiral Crixtal demanded of his intelligence team. We do not know, sir, they replied. Human databases contain references to it dating back 50 years, but all the technical details are classified beyond our ability to decode. On the 4th day of occupation, something even stranger happened. The automated systems in every human settlement began broadcasting the same message simultaneously. It was not a distress call or a surrender offer. It was a simple statement in hundreds of languages. Thank you for visiting human space. We hope you find what you are looking for. Please be respectful of the facilities we have left behind. Consider them a gift from humanity to the galaxy. The message repeated every hour, in perfect translations that included languages the humans should never have known how to speak. Crixtal's unease grew into something approaching fear. He had conquered many species, but he had never encountered anything like this. Usually, there were survivors hiding in bunkers, refugees fleeing to other systems, desperate last stands by military units. But the humans had simply vanished. All 847 billion of them. Sir, his communications officer reported on the 7th day. We have received a priority message from the Council. They are asking for confirmation of human casualties and population centers destroyed. Crixtal stared at the empty cities on his screens. How could he report casualties when he could not find any humans to kill? How could he report destroyed cities when every human settlement was perfectly intact and functioning? Send this message to the Council, he finally said. Human space has been secured. Resistance was minimal. He did not mention that there had been no resistance at all because there had been no humans to resist. But in the empty human libraries, computers continued to run programs that no Council scientist could understand. In the abandoned laboratories, experiments continued automatically, producing results that were immediately filed away in encrypted databases. And in the deepest levels of every human facility, massive machines hummed quietly, drawing power from sources that should not have existed, performing calculations too complex for any known technology. The humans were gone, but they had left something behind, something that was still working, still planning, still waiting. Admiral Crixtal did not know it yet, but his fleet had not conquered human space. They had walked into a carefully prepared trap that was 50 years in the making, and soon, very soon, they would discover what happened when you declared war on a species that had learned to think 50 moves ahead. The silence in human space was not the silence of the dead. It was the silence of the patient hunter, waiting for the perfect moment to strike. Counselor Thexior was considered the smartest being in the galaxy. His crystalline brain could process information faster than most supercomputers. But as he stood in the abandoned human research facility on Europa, he felt completely lost. This makes no sense, he said to his team of investigators. No species just disappears. There must be evidence somewhere. The team included the best minds from 17 different species. Dr. Vexhai could analyze quantum patterns that others could not even see. Professor Klemtor could detect energy signatures from 1,000,000 years ago. But even working together, they could not figure out what had happened to humanity. They had been searching human space for 2 months now. Every day brought new mysteries and no answers. Look at this, called Dr. Zimara, a researcher whose species could interface directly with computer systems. She was connected to a human laboratory computer, her tentacles wrapped around data ports. The humans were working on something called consciousness transfer protocols. The team gathered around her. On the screen were the research notes of Dr. HFY, a human cybernetics expert who had been studying the connection between minds and machines. According to these files, Zimara continued, Dr. HFY believed it was possible to convert a biological consciousness into digital information, then transfer that information anywhere in the universe instantly. Thexior's crystal body flickered with patterns of deep thinking. That is impossible. Consciousness cannot be digitized. We have tried for millions of years. The humans seem to have solved problems we thought were impossible before. Professor Klemtor pointed out, look at their faster-than-light travel, their gravity manipulation, their quantum computers. They advanced faster in 200 years than most species do in 10,000. The investigation team moved to the next facility, a massive construction site in the asteroid belt between Mars and Jupiter. Here they found evidence of the largest engineering project in human history. Young-Soo, a human physicist whose papers had been published in galactic scientific journals, had designed something he called dimensional fold generators. The Council's top scientists had read his papers and declared them to be interesting but impossible theories. But the asteroid belt told a different story. Massive mining operations had stripped entire asteroids down to nothing. The extracted materials had been used to build something enormous, a structure that would have been the size of a small moon. But whatever it was gone now, leaving only empty construction platforms and mysterious energy readings. The power requirements for Young-Soo's dimensional fold generators would be incredible, calculated Dr. Vexhai. You would need the total energy output of several stars. Where would humans get that kind of power? Asked Thexior. The answer came from an unexpected source, the personal diary of Yoonji, a human colonial administrator who had worked on the Outer Rim settlements. Yoonji had not been a scientist or engineer. She was just a person who helped manage human colonies. But her diary entries, found in her abandoned office on Titan, painted a picture that terrified the investigation team. Today marks the 50th anniversary of the Great Preparation. One entry read, Grandmother always told me that humans would need to be ready for the day when the galaxy turned against us. She was right. Every human child learns about the contingency plans in school. We all know our roles when the time comes. Another entry was even more disturbing. The dimensional anchor network is nearly complete. Jae-sung says the quantum consciousness uploaders will be ready next month. Soon we will be ready for the great departure. I hope the other species understand that we never wanted this, but they have left us no choice. Jae-sung's name appeared in hundreds of documents throughout human space. He had been their chief technology coordinator, responsible for linking together research from thousands of different projects across all human worlds. The investigation team found Jae-sung's main laboratory deep beneath the surface of Europa. What they discovered there changed everything. The laboratory was enormous, carved out of solid rock and lined with materials that did not appear on any periodic table. At the center was a machine that seemed to bend space around itself. Even looking at it hurt the investigators' brains. This is a quantum consciousness network node, Dr. Zamara reported after interfacing with the machine's computers. According to the technical documentation, this is one of 12 identical machines placed throughout human space. What does it do? Asked Thexior. It can record, store, and transmit the complete mental patterns of every human in a star system simultaneously. Not just their memories, but their entire consciousness, their thoughts, personalities, dreams, everything that makes them who they are. The team stood in stunned silence. Professor Klemtor was the first to understand the implications. They did not evacuate physically. They uploaded themselves into these machines, then transmitted their consciousness somewhere else entirely. But where? Demanded Thexior. Where could they send 847 billion minds? The answer was found in Young-Soo's final research notes, discovered in a hidden partition of the Europa Laboratory's main computer. The dimensional fold generators create artificial pocket dimensions, the notes explained. These pocket dimensions can exist parallel to our reality, but completely separate from it. A civilization could build an entire universe inside a fold dimension and live there without needing any physical resources from normal space. Dr. Vexhai's energy sensors began detecting something new. The quantum consciousness network is still active. These machines are still running, still connected to something. Connected to what? I do not know. The signal is going elsewhere, somewhere that exists outside our normal understanding of space and time. As the investigation continued, more pieces of the puzzle came together. Humanity had been preparing for this for 50 years. Every human colony, every research station, every individual person had known their role in Project Exodus. They had not just planned to escape the Council's genocide. They had planned to transcend physical existence entirely. This is not just advanced technology, Texior finally admitted. This is something beyond our comprehension. They have become something that we do not have words for. But the most frightening discovery was yet to come. Hidden in Dr. HFY's deepest research files was a single line of text that made every investigator's blood run cold. Phase 1 complete. Consciousness transfer successful. Phase 2 initiating. Remote physical manifestation protocols. Phase 3 ready. Selective reality modification capabilities. Estimated time to full implementation, 6 months. The investigation had been going on for exactly 5 months and 3 weeks. Whatever humanity had become, they would soon be ready to return. And when they did, they would not be the same species that the Council had tried to exterminate. They would be something far more powerful and far more dangerous than anything the galaxy had ever seen. Captain Veldis was having the worst day of his long military career. His patrol ship, the Dominant Force, was supposed to be one of the most advanced vessels in the Zephyrian fleet. Its bioorganic hull could repair itself, its living computer could adapt to any situation, and its weapons could destroy entire cities. But today, none of that mattered because his ship was dying around him. "Captain, the hull is aging rapidly," reported his chief engineer, her voice full of panic. "The bioorganic tissue is breaking down at the cellular level. We are losing structural integrity throughout the entire ship." Veldis had never heard of anything like this. Bioships were supposed to live for thousands of years. His ship was barely 50 years old, practically a baby by Zephyrian standards. "How is this possible?" he demanded. "I do not know, sir. It is as if something is accelerating the ship's biological processes. The hull thinks it has lived for centuries instead of decades." The Dominant Force was not alone in its suffering. Across the galaxy, Council ships were reporting impossible failures. Helix Confederation vessels found their quantum computers running backwards, processing information in reverse and undoing their own calculations. Nexari crystal ships discovered fractures, appearing in their silicon-based hulls. Fractures that followed mathematical patterns no one had ever seen before. But the strangest reports came from Captain Mordek of the exploration vessel Farseeker. His crew had been mapping the former human colony of New Shanghai when their sensors detected something that should not have existed. "Council command. We have a contact," Mordek reported over subspace radio. "Unknown vessel materializing at coordinates 347.2 by 891.5. Visual confirmation. It appears solid, but our sensors are showing impossible readings." "Explain impossible," demanded the voice from Council command. "The ship appears to exist in multiple dimensional states simultaneously. Our computers cannot decide if it is made of matter, energy, or something else entirely. The unknown vessel was unlike anything in Council databases. Its shape seemed to shift depending on the angle of observation. Sometimes it looked like a sleek human cruiser. Other times it appeared as a geometric pattern of pure light. Most disturbing of all, it seemed to be aware that it was being watched. "Sir, the unknown ship is moving," reported Mordek's tactical officer, "but it is not using any known form of propulsion. It is simply changing its location." "Are you saying it is teleporting?" "No, sir, it is more like reality is being rewritten to place the ship in a new position." Mordek ordered his weapons to target the unknown vessel. The Farseeker's plasma cannons charged and fired. The energy beam struck their target perfectly and did absolutely nothing. The unknown ship flickered slightly, like a reflection in disturbed water, then continued on its course as if nothing had happened. "Sir," the tactical officer's voice was barely a whisper, "I think we need to retreat." But before Mordek could give the order, the unknown ship simply vanished. One moment it was there, the next it was gone, leaving no trace on any sensor. Then it reappeared directly behind the Farseeker. Reports like this began flooding Council command from across the galaxy. Unknown ships appearing and disappearing at will. Technology failing in ways that violated the laws of physics. And always, the failures targeted the specific weaknesses of each species. Admiral Krickstall, still stationed in the former human space, was the first to understand what was happening. "These are not random failures," he reported to the Council. "Someone is studying our technology and finding ways to attack our specific vulnerabilities. The Zephyrians' living ships are being aged to death. The Helix computers are being forced to run in reverse. The Nexari crystals are being fractured along their natural weak points. But who could do such a thing? Demanded Council Prime Veltar. Kriegstall's answer sent chills through every council member. Someone who has spent years studying our biology and technology. Someone who has had access to detailed information about every species in the council. The memory of Dr. Ji Ho's words came flooding back to them. The human xenobiologist who had spent 5 years learning everything about every council species. Who had documented their foods, diseases, technologies, and fears. Impossible, Veltar declared. The humans are gone. We saw the empty worlds ourselves. But even as he spoke, more reports were coming in. The attacks were becoming more sophisticated and more targeted. A crystalline Nexari trade convoy found their silicon-based systems developing fractures that spelled out words in ancient human languages. A Helix military base discovered their computers had been reprogrammed to solve mathematical equations that, when graphed, created images of human faces. Most terrifying of all was the report from Commander Tekler of the mining station Deep Bore 7. His crew had been extracting rare metals from a dead world when something impossible happened. The entire mining operation has been reorganized, Tekler reported, his voice shaking. The excavated ore has been arranged into geometric patterns across 17 square kilometers. When viewed from orbit, the patterns form a message in perfect galactic standard script. What does the message say? Teklar paused for a long moment before answering. It says, Subin's quantum engineering solutions now available throughout the galaxy. Satisfaction guaranteed or reality refunded. Subin had been a human physicist whose research papers the Council had dismissed as impossible theoretical nonsense. Her ideas about phase shift, drives, and quantum manipulation had been considered fantasy. But her fantasy technology was now rewriting matter and energy across multiple star systems simultaneously. The final proof came when Do-hyun's tactical predictions began coming true. Do-hyun had been a human military strategist whose papers on asymmetric warfare were still studied in Council military academies. But his strategies had assumed conventional weapons and normal physics. What was happening now went far beyond conventional warfare. Council fleets found themselves unable to maintain formation as their ships began experiencing different rates of time flow. Weapons fired in one direction would emerge from somewhere else entirely. Communication networks became unreliable as messages were intercepted, edited, and retransmitted with subtle changes that altered their meaning. They are not fighting us with ships and weapons, Admiral Kriegstall reported in his final transmission to the Council. They are fighting us by rewriting the fundamental rules of physics in localized areas around our forces. How do we fight an enemy that can change reality? Asked Veltar. Kriegstall's answer was the last message received from the former human space. You do not fight them. You hope they are merciful. The truth was becoming clear to the Council, though none of them wanted to admit it. Humanity had not been eliminated by their final solution protocol. Instead, the protocol had freed humanity from the limitations of physical existence. They were no longer bound by the need for ships, planets, or resources. They could manipulate matter and energy at the quantum level. They existed everywhere and nowhere, able to manifest wherever they chose and reorganize reality according to their will. The Council had not destroyed humanity. They had created gods, and those gods remembered exactly who had tried to exterminate them. The reckoning had begun, and it would be unlike anything the galaxy had ever experienced. Because humanity was not interested in conquest or revenge in any conventional sense, they were interested in teaching the galaxy a lesson about what happened when you tried to eliminate a species that was smart enough to evolve beyond your ability to kill them. The lesson was about to begin, and every species in the Council was about to become students whether they wanted to or not. The emergency session of the Galactic Council was the most important meeting in the history of the galaxy. Representatives from all 47 species had gathered to discuss the impossible situation they now faced. But as Council Prime Veltar began to speak, something happened that had never occurred in the million-year history of the Council chambers. Reality flickered. For just a moment, the air in the center of the chamber seemed to bend and twist. Then, standing exactly where no one had been a second before, was Captain So Young. But she was not the same woman who had appeared in the hologram months ago. Her form seemed to exist in multiple dimensions at the same time. When she moved, space around her moved with her. When she spoke, her voice carried harmonics that reached directly into the minds of every being present, translating perfectly into their native languages without any need for mechanical translators. "Hello again," she said calmly. "I hope you do not mind the intrusion, but we felt it was time to talk." Every security system in the chamber activated at once. Energy barriers sprang up around the alien delegates. Weapon systems came online. Alarms screamed throughout the building. None of it affected So Young in the slightest. She stood calmly in the center of the chaos, waiting for the noise to die down. "How are you here?" demanded Veltar. "How are you alive? Our fleets found no humans anywhere in the galaxy." "You are correct," So Young replied. "You found no humans. That is because we are no longer human in the way you understand the term." The air flickered again and Ambassador Hyunwoo appeared beside her. Like So Young, his form seemed to exist in multiple states simultaneously. Light passed through him in some places while casting shadows in others. "We tried to warn you," Hyunwoo said. "We offered peace, cooperation, mutual benefit, but you chose to see us as a threat that needed to be eliminated." Admiral Tae-min materialized next, his military uniform seeming to be made of pure information rather than fabric. "Your final solution protocol was very thorough," he said with what might have been approval. "Complete extermination of our species. No survivors. No mercy." Dr. Jiho appeared as well, his form crackling with energy that looked like living mathematics. "So we decided to give you exactly what you wanted. We eliminated the human species." "Then who are you?" whispered a council delegate, her voice full of terror. So Young smiled, and her smile contained the warmth of a billion stars. "We are what humanity became when you freed us from the limitations of biology, physics, and mortality. You wanted us gone, so we transcended the need to exist in your reality." The truth hit the council delegates like a physical blow. The humans had not fled or hidden. They had evolved beyond the reach of conventional weapons, beyond the need for planets or resources, beyond the possibility of extinction. Project Exodus was not an evacuation plan, Taemin explained. It was an ascension protocol. Dr. H's consciousness transfer technology, combined with Youngsu's dimensional fold generators and Jae-sung's quantum networks, allowed us to upload our entire species into a form of existence that can manipulate the fundamental forces of reality. "But why are you here now?" asked Veltar. "If you have transcended our reality, why do you care what happens to us?" Dr. Jiho stepped forward, his form shifting between solid matter and pure energy. "Because we are still responsible for the galaxy we came from. And right now that galaxy is full of species who think extinction is an acceptable solution to disagreement. We cannot allow that to continue," added Hyunwoo. The demonstration was swift and absolute. In the space of 17 seconds, a dead moon orbiting the nearby world of Cathara 4 was transformed. The council delegates watched on the chamber's main screen as the lifeless rock was reorganized at the atomic level. Its matter reshaped into a perfect sphere of crystalline artwork that reflected the light of its star in patterns too beautiful for biological minds to fully comprehend. The moon had not been destroyed. It had been improved, made into something magnificent and impossible. That moon contained approximately 4 trillion tons of rock and metal, So Young explained casually. "We rearranged every atom according to our design. The process took less time than it takes most of you to blink." The chamber fell completely silent. "Now," Taemin continued, "let us discuss the future of galactic civilization." A holographic display appeared in the center of the chamber, showing star maps, population centers, and trade routes throughout council space. But this was not information the humans should have been able to access. These were classified military databases that were supposedly impossible to hack. "We have been watching you for the past 6 months, Hyunwoo explained, "studying how each of your species behaves when you think you have won. The results were educational. You enslaved the survivors from 3 different extinct species," Dr. Jiho said, his voice carrying a note of disapproval that made several delegates flinch. "You seized the homeworlds of peoples who had surrendered peacefully. You divided up resources that belonged to others. That is how conquest has always worked," Veltar protested weakly. "Not anymore," So Young replied firmly. The star map changed, showing new boundaries, new trade routes, new arrangements of power that gave equal representation to all species regardless of their military strength. "This is the new organization of galactic civilization," Taemin announced. Every species gets equal representation. Every world gets to choose its own government. No one gets to exterminate anyone else for any reason. You cannot force us to accept this, declared a Helix representative. So Young's expression remained calm and patient. We are not forcing you. We are informing you. This is how things will be from now on. You can participate willingly, or we can arrange reality to make participation automatic. The threat was delivered with such gentle kindness that it took several seconds for the delegates to understand how terrifying it actually was. You cannot watch over the entire galaxy, protested a Nexari. Delegate Dr. Jiho smiled, and his smile was made of living light. We exist in quantum superposition across all possible realities. We can observe every star system simultaneously while analyzing every possible future outcome. Monitoring galactic civilization is well within our capabilities. The Council realized they were not negotiating with representatives of a species. They were being instructed by forces that had transcended species entirely. What if we refuse? Asked Veltar. Hyunwoo's answer was gentle but absolute. Then we will modify reality until refusal becomes impossible. We would prefer cooperation, but we will accept compliance. The vote was unanimous. Every species agreed to the new galactic charter. They had no choice. Humanity had not just won the war. They had transcended war itself, becoming something that could rewrite the rules of existence as easily as editing a document. One more thing, So Young said, as the meeting concluded. The humans who transcended are not the same as the humans who used to exist. We remember our origins, but we have become something beyond individual consciousness. We are collective, distributed, and eternal. What does that mean for the galaxy? Asked a delegate. Taemin's final words echoed through the chamber with the weight of absolute truth. It means that peace is no longer optional. It means that extinction is no longer possible. And it means that every species in this galaxy will have the chance to grow, learn, and evolve without fear. We did not want this responsibility, Dr. Jiho added. But when you tried to exterminate us, you created the very thing you feared, a power greater than your own. The difference is that we will use that power to protect rather than destroy. The human forms began to fade from the chamber. The button was pressed too late, So Young said as her image became transparent. We had already moved beyond your ability to destroy us. But perhaps that was always the plan. Perhaps humanity needed to be pushed beyond the edge of extinction to become what the galaxy truly needed. Guardians, whispered Veltar. Exactly, replied Hyunwoo's fading voice. The galaxy now has protectors who cannot be killed, corrupted, or defeated. We are everywhere and nowhere, watching and waiting, ensuring that what happened to us never happens to anyone else. The chamber fell silent as the humans vanished completely, leaving behind only the new reality they had created, a galaxy where peace was enforced by beings who had transcended. The very concept of physical existence, the Council had tried to eliminate humanity and instead created the universe's new physics engine, programmed with one simple directive: ensure that all species could coexist safely. The age of extinction wars was over. The age of enforced evolution had begun. And somewhere in the spaces between dimensions, 847 billion human consciousness worked together as a single entity, watching over a galaxy that would finally know peace whether it wanted to or not.